Hi, this is a very short talk about ValSerQuaSecBizDevOps, which is what I call the seven gods of DevOps happiness. Um, if we look at businesses such as Apple Inc., which is obviously an amazingly successful business, um, we don't pay that much attention to the whole story. Apple has had actually a very large number of products that have not succeeded. This is not an exhaustive list, it's just, and most of these products people never knew existed. Some of them might remember some of them. But what is important is there's a lot of unsuccess out there, even by companies of this caliber. If we look at the other kinds of products that are not hardware or computer related or technology related, we have the same deal. I mean, we can come up with ideas and develop products that we think are innovative and amazing and are going to be successful, but they aren't. Sometimes it's easier to see it in this kind of products than on hardware or even more so on software, but it is equally applicable. We could think about the aspect of bad code, but that's not really the case. I don't want to focus on whether the code was good or not. I want to focus on other aspects, such as customer expectation, design, which have been key to products that, although the quality was good, weren't successful. Also, I want you to go beyond this kind of metrics. The Standish Group publishes this every year. The Agile world is very happy about the fact that, in average, the percentage of successful projects is higher compared to traditional. But the way I see it is this is embarrassing. I mean, how come less than 50% of them are successful? In either case. So this is embarrassing. But at the same time, there is other aspects that we need to pay attention to. DevOps, is the new hype. Everybody talks about it. Everybody driving efforts towards doing it. Well, Agile, independently if you are doing Scrum or Kanban or XP or any other approach, agility, it falls short because the emphasis is more on the development, not as much on the operation side. Operations was a bottleneck, and DevOps helps bridge that gap, get a more complete cycle at this level. And this is actually where the limitation lies. Because this isn't enough to be able to actually make products successful. We can be very efficient, very effective at developing and delivering, but that doesn't mean that we are delivering the right thing. So what else do we need? Well, so we have to take into account other aspects, and this is not an exhaustive list, but these are aspects that are very important. Is the alignment between vision and project. At the same time, the vision has to actually be aligned with something that is going to make us successful. So it requires a higher level of understanding of the customer, the market, and so on. We have to take into account customer satisfaction. So the better we understand the customer, the better we identify the need, or the better we are at creating new needs, then the chances of being successful are higher. At the same time, communication and collaboration has to happen throughout the entire value chain and not only within development and operations. And then there are other factors such as the work environment and taking into account also the human side. So happiness and health in the teams, we have to think about mindfulness. And most importantly, all this combined, we had to adapt. We had to be able to change and be very effective, very efficient, adapting all this. So BizDevOps is something relatively new. It's been around for a couple of years already. And what it does is, okay, guys, we have development, we have ops, but we need to make sure that we are not only really good at building something and putting it out there, we have to make sure that that thing we are building and putting out there is the right thing. And that's where Biz comes into place. So what we want to do is make sure that there's a really good understanding from the business perspective of what the need is, so that then we develop it, we deliver it, And at the same time, we take all those metrics, all the information that we gather through DevOps, and that actually feeds back to business so that business can, in a much better way, adapt and then improve the products, come up with new features, new products, new services, etc. And all three of them have to be aligned. So this obviously is a more complete structure. However, there are still some parts missing. So I want to very briefly mention about value. If we think about a pile of leaves and we think about value and we want to, the question is what value is there? At first glance, we may say, well, nothing, it's just a pile of leaves and we want to get rid of them, right? However, let's say we are lazy and we decide to hire somebody to collect those leaves. The person who does the job needs to be paid. So we pay that person for doing the job, and to that person there was value there because he actually got money as a result of collecting them. So that's tangible value, and that's what helps this person do a living. Now, once those leaves are collected, then my kids or your kids or the neighbors may just see that and get all excited and go and play with them. If the leaves hadn't been collected, then the kids most likely wouldn't have gone out and played. I don't think they would have, gone and put them all together and piled them up to then play with them. So then the result of the war from the gardener was also something that added value to these kids and allowed them to go and play, where to them the value is an intangible value because they just have fun. There was no money or anything at that level implied. It was just having fun, and that's an intangible value. At the same time, there can be a mix of both. Because the kids play with all those leaves that were collected, the leaves broke down into smaller pieces, and that makes it easier and quicker for compost to be formed, which at the same time satisfied probably my neighbor's hobby who loves gardening. So there's a combination of value. So value in the end is the expected tangible or intangible benefit. It's not easy to figure it out. So instead of just thinking that we know what the value is, we should actually go through that discovery process together with the customer so that we both can figure out what that true value is, what that benefit that we expect is, and whether that benefit is tangible, intangible, or both. And then also quality. We are so used to thinking about, big, high quality, low quality, when I think that we should think differently about quality. And to give you an example, we have post-it notes. We all know them. We all use them. They're great. But some time ago, in one of my business trips to Europe, I needed some stickies. There was this small store that sold products made in China, and I saw they had sticky notes. So I bought them and I used them for some training. They work well. We will use them to do a couple of exercises. They will take half an hour to an hour each exercise. But then when doing the actual coaching, which is when we spend time, days and weeks and months with customers, I realized that these Chinese sticky notes were entirely useless. They will last for a day, maybe two, if we were lucky, and then they will just never ever stick again. The glue is just not up to the challenge. So at first thought, we might be, tempted to say that that's low quality. But in reality, what we have to think about is the right level of quality for the purpose. So if I want sticky notes that I can use for training, that we're just going to use for, a few minutes to a couple of hours, and that's the end of the story, those Chinese stickies are amazing. They serve the purpose pretty well. After that, I don't care. The 3M notes will also work for that. But the thing is this, they are a lot more expensive. So for the purpose of training, do I need to go to that level of quality of the 3M post-it notes, which are a lot more expensive? Or can I actually improve my economy by buying stickies that are cheaper but serve the purpose? So basically, for that purpose, post-it notes are overkill, whereas the Chinese are the right ones. Now, for the other purpose of coaching, then the Chinese ones may not be the best ones to use. quality in reality is the successful delivery of the expected value, which means the Chinese stickies have the right quality for a specific purpose. The 3M stickies have the right quality for a different purpose. So now we integrate those two, value and quality, and my invitation is that value and quality are added to this structure. Then there is service orientation. This service orientation is part of the Kanban thinking, which is part of lean thinking. And a great example is the one by David Anderson, in which he uses pizza as a metaphor for this. So think about when you're ordering a pizza. You have certain expectations behind that. When you order a pizza for delivery, the expectation that you have in terms of quality is it a good pizza? Is it tasty? Is it fresh? Are ingredients fresh? Is the cheese really good? I received the pizza hot enough still. I receive is the dough of good quality, so the bread itself, and so on. So there's all that has to do with the pizza itself. But then there's everything that is not the pizza, but that has to do with the experience. Is the box the right size? Is it too small? The pizza is too cold when I get it? Or it encloses too much the pizza such that and when I get the pizza is all soggy, for example? Or is the cheese stuck to the top of the pizza box? But then there's something that goes beyond that, which is okay, the delivery guy, did he come here all dirty, right? Was he mad and just threw the pizza at me, or did he greet me with a nice attitude and so on? Was it delivered on time? And the on-time delivery might not necessarily be that I ordered the pizza over the phone or online and the pizza is at the door 3 minutes later. Because if I go 3 minutes later, then I wonder if the pizza is actually fresh or not. Maybe they made it that morning. So there's a certain range of time within which I'm happy. And that's service orientation. So this is also an important aspect. It's not just the product or service that you receive, is everything that goes around, basically the service orientation behind the service or the service orientation behind the product. And this is also an element that we need to take into account. So now we have value, service, and quality. But then there's also this other aspect, and is all of us want to make sure that our privacy is respected. We want to make sure that that which is for us not to share or to share only with some others is actually respected. So we want to be able to come with the right way to ensure that that security is actually there, that which we care for is actually being respected. So we need to add this aspect. And this is where the whole thing comes together. Now, it is not a matter of saying, okay, first you start looking at, say, your specifications, then the design, then the architecture, then development, then you test it, then you add some security mechanism and you put it out there. It's not about making it sequential. In reality, it is about mixing it all together, meaning all these new aspects that we are adding to the structure should happen all the time at every step of the structure itself. And that's where ValSerQuaSecBizDevOps comes together. I'm still maturing this idea, but the idea is that those 4 elements occur all the time, everywhere within BizDevOps. Thank you guys.